Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And we got to bring up this topic today about Sean Puffy Combs, who's been all over the national media and social media with this allegation against one of his artists, uh, Cassie, and all of the bad things that he has supposedly done to her, from sexual assault to financial degradation, spiritual, physical, emotional distress that this older gentleman displayed on this young lady. I think she was 19 when they started dating. He was 37. And this happens all the time in the music business. Russell Simmons supposedly met and was dating Kimora Lee, who's from St. Louis. Kimora Lee Simmons. Russell was in his 40s. So you've always had this duality of older men with younger women. R. Kelly situation. Of course, Hugh Hefner kept a plethora of young women around him all the time. But Puffy, we got to go back in history with Puffy starting at Uptown, and then he leaves Uptown, and then he goes to Clive Davis to get some money to start Bad Boy Records. And how did it all get started? So we have to look at the entire paradigm that's playing out here. The record business, I believe, is the devil's workshop. I know there's a lot of young people that want to be in the music business or be entertainers. I think with social media today, you see all of this information about Illuminati and homosexuality and things you have to do, couch interviews for women, and evidently there are couch interviews for men too, that is taking place in our entertainment industry. And it's been marketed so well that every young person, especially of color, wants to be an athlete or an entertainer by any means necessary. And it has demoralized our human spirit to its core. And what these white record execs have done is what these white record execs did 30, 40 years ago at the advent of hip hop is that they used these young black entrepreneurs like Puffy, like Suge Knight at Death Row, Jay Prince, to fund these companies, and they had a long extended hand and didn't deal with all of the negative media that came with gangster rap music, hip hop, that has been very detrimental to the black community. So the white record labels were the puppeteers, and the puppets, the master puppet, were the black labels, and the inevitable puppets who suffered the most were the artists. And Puffy is one of those, probably the marquee name, along with Suge Knight, who sat on this island of managing and creating these black stars. And as you can tell, so Suge took the money from Interscope with Jimmy Iovine, set up Death Row. Puffy took the money from Clive Davis to set up Bad Boy. And if you look at even the names of these companies, these black record labels, Bad Boy, Death Row, Rough Riders, Murder Inc., Cash Money, No Limit. I mean, they're not even corporate America type names versus the white record companies like Interscope, Universal, Epic, Sony, these denigrating names of these black record labels will tell you right coming through the door that the artist is going to be screwed, and there's not a moral aptitude of positivity that's being displaced with these black record labels. And how many of these black artists became wealthy and have done the right thing for themselves and their community that have come from these kind of companies like Bad Boy, Death Row, Murder Inc. Who would want to sign to a company or go work for a company called Murder Inc.? It's amazing how many of our black youths don't pay attention to the signs and symbols that are right in front of us, that you're going into a scenario and an agreement that's already starting on a negatively spirited premise with a name like Death Row, Bad Boy, Murder Inc. But Puffy has been accused of all kinds of not paying his artists, bad contracts, and this is taking place with all of these black subsidiary labels. Cash Money, Baby has been accused of not paying his artists. You've heard this over and over and over again. And I've always said the best way for black artists, especially in hip hop, is to sign directly to the parent company like Nelly did with Universal. Nelly got lucky and he doesn't even know, probably doesn't realize even to this day, or maybe to this day he does, that it was a blessing that he got signed direct to the people that cut the checks. The other thing is you're always going to get screwed. So you sign to a company, you work for a company that has this degrading name, and then by the time you get your check, 4 or 5 hands have already touched it. So if you have Universal as the parent company, then Cash Money, Baby and them have to handle your money and take what they get out. Producers, lawyers, and you as the artist, you're going to get crumbs on the pie. So it's always best for artists to sign directly to the parent company, the Warner Brothers. That's why white artists, you very rarely see any of these subsidiary, secondary, small labels that are attached to the bigger labels. You want to get signed straight to the big labels, because the crazy and egregious behavior that somebody like a Puffy Combs, who's got $50 or $60 million from Clive Davis when he was in his 20s with no real formal education. He went to Howard for a while and dropped out. What makes you think that he was going to do the right thing with the money? But now that Keefe D has gotten arrested, and you've been hearing Puffy's name being associated with Keefe D, the Tupac murder, he supposedly gave Zip $1 million to give to Keefe D to murder Tupac. Biggie gets killed at a partying event in LA a few months after Tupac, and Puffy's hands are all over both the Tupac murder and the Biggie Smalls murder. So you have 3 people that are really involved in that: Keefe D, Suge Knight, and Puffy. And I'm doing this video because what's going to happen, and what I see as a sign, is like the R. Kelly documentary, the Leaving Neverland with Michael Jackson. Puffy's name is simmering way too much in national media and social media, where I think the federal government is going to come behind and do something and charge Puffy with something. And I think this Cassie situation was definitely a sign, was sent to him. These allegations of sex trafficking and physical abuse and emotional and financial abuse that he displayed upon her was terrible, was not good, was terrible. And for her to come out with this lawsuit now, Puffy's name is going into a very, very dark and negative space. And then there's these allegations of homosexuality, which I don't care if you're straight or gay, but he had Usher living with him when Usher was 14, 13 years old. I think Puffy has done so much stuff in the last 35 years that he doesn't even know where and how to put any of these simmering fires out. Russell Simmons has had these gay allegations and uh, women abuse, physical, emotional, sexual assaults, and you see he left the entire country. Bill Cosby went through this and got convicted, and I think Puffy is falling into the same line of the federal government is eventually going after Puffy, and I think they're going to go after him like they did R. Kelly. And whether he can bypass his murder situation with Tupac or Biggie, I don't know if he's going to skate past all of this. And this Cassie situation, I think, is just the beginning of Puffy's downfall. Um, and it's a sad commentary. And what we should look at as young folks, we need to stop listening and paying attention to these athletes and entertainers as if they're some genius. The music business has been the devil's workshop, and I don't think you have to be a brain surgeon to run a secondary label, a minority black label. When you have the white companies giving you all this money, you get the artists to sign terrible contracts, and you keep all the money to yourself. I don't think you have to have an MBA from the University of Chicago or Harvard to display that kind of egregious and negative behavior to your artists. Puffy's name has been out there a long time, and I think Puffy is going to be in a shitload of trouble here soon. You see, he settled the Cassie case immediately and paid her for her silence. And he has all these artists that have signed NDAs. I think that there are going to be a lot of artists that are going to breach that contract for the NDA, the non-disclosures, and they're going to start speaking out. And I think Puffy is the next person that a documentary or an investigation is going to take place, and Puffy might end up in an O.J. Simpson situation where he's going to go to jail for one particular situation because he didn't go for another one. They're going to get Puffy on something. So Puffy is shaking in his pants. Don't forget his ex-girlfriend Kim Porter died. There's been tons of deaths around Puffy. Kim Porter died. Biggie died. He's had several artists that have gone crazy. So this is a tough situation for him, and I think the 30-something years that he's done all this crazy negative behavior to folks, the chickens are coming home to roost. I never cared for Puffy. I thought he was a buffoon. I don't know why people follow him and then they listen to him as if he's some kind of businessman. It came out recently that the contract he had with the vodka company, I think it was Ciroc, he was telling people he owned part of that. That was all a lie. I don't think he's worth $800 million. If you're not on the creation side, the manufacturing and distribution, you're not making $1 billion. It's extremely hard to make 1 million, let alone $1 billion. And Puffy is in a tough spot. He had a subsidiary label, as I said, that Clive Davis financed. So who do you think got paid first? Clive Davis. And Clive Davis gave him 1/4 of the pie, and then he gave his artists the crumbs. And he has done more harm to the black community than white folks have done. I truly believe that. Sometimes and many times black people can be our own biggest harbinger to each other versus white and black. Black and black can have its own systemic internal racism. So this is a sad commentary. I think this is just the beginning. I think Puffy may go down very similar to like R. Kelly. The dating of young women, he's been a part of that for a long time. Jay-Z has been alleged with that, Dame Dash. But Puffy, who has always been in the forefront, flashing money, loving material things, I think the chickens are coming home to roost, and Puffy is going to be in a world of trouble. I think this Cassie situation is just the tip of the iceberg, and they're going to figure out a way to reel him in on this Tupac murder, this Biggie murder, and there's probably plenty of other things that have taken place in New York City that Puffy has been associated with that was unlawful, harmful, and detrimental to all types of folks he was associated with. Even one of his close friends and bodyguards, Wolf, got murdered in a situation with BMF. So Puffy has been teetering on all of this unlawful negative behavior for many, many years. And I think if you remember the example with Bill Cosby, it is never too late for law enforcement to come get your butt. If you have been living a lie, living in the devil's workshop, and it is going to come and haunt him, and I think Puffy is in a world of trouble. So let's manifest our truth. Thank you for listening to the Trevor Donald Experience. Let's pay close attention to this Puffy situation. If you're new to my channel, please hit the like and subscribe button. I'll see you next time.